Oh. Do you live on Elmont?
No, I don't.
No.
No.
You look familiar.
Oh, okay. No, I've been here for probably about almost 14 years, I
So
guess.
you probably would have talked to him about this at some point?
I've talked to your dad
Yeah.
a few times.
Yeah.
So, I'm
I
sorry.
think he did. We were going to come and talk to you, but then you got sick. And
Right. He was sick for a while, right?
yeah, well, the last year and a half or so, right, when everything sort of come down on him, he was fighting to try to get the taxes paid, and then he got the cancer and couldn't do anything. And
Right.
it was pretty horrible the way he was treated. And I don't know, it's been a long couple years anyway, you know, like he fought and fought. At the end of it, he had nothing, and it was kind of sad what happened to him, you know. Anyhow, what I was really curious is he tried to get a loan to pay off the taxes last year, right? And in doing that, he had to get an appraisal from the McKay Group.
Okay.
Right, and I have the appraisal here. It was appraised for $20,000.
Okay.
Right, whereas you guys have been charging him for the last 10 years like 60,000 taxes, which is 2/3 more. So it's a great deal more. You know what I mean? It's not.
I just want to interrupt.
Yeah.
So what happens is property valuation services.
Yeah.
They're the ones that assess all the properties in Nova Scotia. They send out a notice to the homeowners in January, and we don't have anything to do with the assessed value. We just tax based on that value that we're getting.
Yes, but
So the homeowner has a period of time to appeal that.
okay, but that's not good enough. If you, this is what he told me, is that you guys said that he couldn't go back in time, but he could try to straighten it out now. But for 10 years, he was charged 3 times as much for his taxes. Last time he fell behind, he paid that. So really, he paid 2/3 there. Really, you guys owe him money. You sold him his land, and that's what it comes down to, you know. Not only that, there's other money owed onto it that's sort of passed on to me anyhow, but there's a big problem, you know? It's legalized robbery. You can't say, well, because it happened a few years ago or last year that we can't do nothing about it. Because there's obviously something that could be done, right?
The only has to be on the homeowner as well. They're receiving notification. This is what they're assessing the property at and what it's going to be taxed on based on that value. And they do have a period of time to appeal it. And so he was letting that go, and he wasn't appealing it. So we can't.
No, he just didn't understand the laws, and your laws aren't the easiest thing to understand because most of them don't make sense. You know, most of them are for a certain group of people and not for other ones, and it's been this way for a long time. You know, and I've seen it in everywhere I go and everything I do. You know, the thing is that you're charging them on 60,000 when a professional appraisal come in. Praised it at 20,000. It hadn't changed in 10 years, you know, hasn't changed a bit, you know. So I can't see why, like, right, it's robbery, you know what I mean? You robbed him when he was down and hurting and sick and dying, and where's the humanity in it, really, you know? But, and I know you're saying this protocol and this, but it's about humanity, and there's no humanity in what happened to that man, you know? There's no humanity at all. And there's no excuse for it, and there's no protocols or anything that can help the injustice that's done. And it was a total injustice. You know, I've got the papers all right here. I've got documentation of it right back, you know. I've got letters from him that he wrote, you know, explaining the situation, and he didn't know what to do. He was losing his land, and then not only the whole sale, but the house burned last Christmas, just after Christmas, right? Within 3-4 days, you guys came in and smashed it down, said it was unsafe. I worked for insurance companies for years. I've seen houses stand for months waiting on a decision, right? Waiting on a decision. I'm a carpenter. I could have rebuilt that house. I could have gutted it and put trusses on the top and turned it into a bungalow. The only thing that was of concern was the chimney was standing. Within 2 days, they came and knocked that down. But the other thing was the gable was standing. That could have been knocked into the house and it would have been fine. It was already taped off. There was no reason to come in 3 days and demolish it.
I'm sorry I can't answer
Yeah.
on the demolition part of it, but as for
So who can answer that?
Well, I can have Troy Baker get in touch with you.
Sure.
He would have put an unsightly order against the property, and he'll speak with the fire department and follow that protocol. I can.
See, there you go again, the protocols, right? But there's no humanity in it all. right? You're tangled up in laws and that, but nobody even, the real laws that were put on us a long time ago, nobody even thinks about it. It's all these conflicting laws that don't make sense, and one conflicts with another. How is this fair? You know?
I know you're hurting, right? You lost your father, and you feel that he was wronged. I've spoken to your father a few times.
Yep.
We don't even take something to tax sale or even start the process until it's at least 4 years in arrears. The last thing we want to do is put a property.
But it wasn't 4 years in arrears. It was paid right up for what that says. You know what I mean? You guys actually owed him money from last time that you charged him. I think it was 8,000. He was behind, or 7,000, and you got that from him because he borrowed it. And then he paid interest on the money he borrowed from it.
It has to be in arrears over 3 years. So a current year and 3 years in arrears before we'll even start the process.
Does that make the process right? You know? Does that make what happened right just because he was in arrears for 3 years, which, like I said, he wasn't in arrears.
And
It was robbery, and this paper tells it all. It was appraised at 20,000. He was getting a loan to pay the taxes, right? He couldn't get the loan because the property was appraised way lower than you guys had been charging him all along, right?
So there's nothing I can do going back.
Okay, this is what you're saying right now, is there's nothing I can do going back. And this is what you told him. And there's a big problem with that. That's like saying that somebody's been breaking into your house for 10 years and stealing things, and you just caught him, right? We can charge him for this thing, but we can't go back. We can't charge him for all these other crimes that happened, and that's what you're saying.
No, I'm
That's
not
exactly
saying
what you just said.
that. No, I'm not, sir. You have to be responsible for your place as well. There's laws in place, there's taxes in place for a reason. The taxes are for the police.
Okay, so who do I speak to that can do something about this? Because obviously the town of New Glasgow can't do anything.
There is really nothing that can be done.
There's nothing that can be done.
There's nothing that can be done.
So it's legalized robbery, and you're admitting to it, and you're saying that, yes, we took it, we can't go back. Obviously, we know the house wasn't worth what we've been charging taxes on. And how many other people in New Glasgow are getting ripped off like this? You know? How many other people?
The homeowners are given a notice every year. It's like a one page, it's black and white. This is your assessed value. Well, I don't think this is what my assessed value should be.
But he didn't know the difference, right? Until he had a professional appraiser come in and say, this is what your property is worth. And then he thought, well, why are they charging me taxes on a huge number when the property's really only worth 20,000? How come I'm paying 60,000 or taxes on 60,000? It doesn't make sense.
At that time, when they started assessing it, if his property value lowered, how are we going to know that? We're saying consistent.
It didn't lower. You guys raised it, like, obviously, before assessing the property. Who's assessing it? Are they actually going out to assess the properties, or are they doing this from an office, from what the houses in the area are generally worth?
So at the time of the new construction,
Yeah.
if there's permits done to a home, they will look at
Okay, that house was built 80 years ago or more, you know?
So they have it at a value. They're only raising it based on the consumer price.
Well, what he paid for the property is what it was assessed at. It says 20 to 26. He paid a little higher than that, 28 or something like that is what he paid for it.
And values typically raise a little bit each year. A home value.
But obviously it didn't, because this paper says otherwise. You know what I mean? Actually, it went down a couple thousand, but not much. It was right around where it was appraised at, was what he bought it for. Nothing had been done to the house. Nothing had been done to the land other than the parcel next to him, which he cleaned up. I know, but he couldn't, right? Because you said you could appeal it for this year, but not all this money that you owe us. But you got to give us this money, even though you don't rightfully owe us. You know that, and I know that. You know what I mean? It's right here on these papers, and you know that. And I don't know how you can sit there and tell me that because of this protocol, we can't do nothing about it. I'm going to leave, okay? I'm going to leave. It's just too bad you just couldn't do nothing. I don't think I need the camera anymore. Thanks. How do I get out of here? You want to let me out? I'm not angry at you or nothing. I know it's your job and this is what you have to say. I'm angry at probably higher up in government that orchestrates it all and makes these protocols and whatnot. But thanks for your time. I appreciate that.
There has to be a
Yes, but the system's not working and the system's wrong. It's not me that's wrong, it's the system that's wrong. And I, if I have to, I'll go to the federal government, you know, or I'll go to the provincial government, I'll go right out. Because this is wrong. The man was dying of cancer, and years ago when somebody's house burnt down, the community would get together and help the guy. Now what happened? They got kicked in the teeth, they took everything he had and kicked him out and didn't give him nothing. You know, it's sad. It's sad what's happening to humanity, it's sad what's happening to the world. And it's these protocols and procedures that are doing it. Have a good day. Thanks for your time again. Here, obviously.